Daniel lived a quiet life in a small wooden house at the edge of the forest. His closest friend was not a human, but a dog named Max. Max was more than a pet. He was family. The brown dog with sharp ears and bright eyes followed Daniel everywhere. When Daniel ate, Max sat at his feet. When Daniel worked in the garden, Max chased butterflies and guarded the yard. In the lonely evenings, Max curled beside him, keeping the silence away. For Daniel, the dog was his world. But one evening, everything changed. The sun had fallen and night spread across the forest. Daniel stepped outside to breathe the cool air. Max trotted beside him, wagging his tail. The forest was quiet, but Daniel noticed something strange in the distance. Between the tall black trees, a faint blue light flickered. It was not like the light of fireflies, nor the glow of lanterns. It was something different, unnatural, alive. Max saw it too. His ears twitched and a low growl escaped his throat. Before Daniel could react, the dog bolted toward the woods, barking loudly. "Max, come back!" Daniel shouted, chasing after him. But Max was too fast. His paws beat the earth, carrying him deeper and deeper into the darkness. Daniel's heart pounded. He ran, branches scratching his arms, roots tripping his feet, but he refused to stop. The blue light grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat, drawing the dog closer. Then silence. Daniel stopped, gasping for breath. The light vanished as if swallowed by the night. The forest was now cold and empty. Max was gone. "Max!" His voice echoed between the trees. No answer. Only the sound of distant owls. Daniel searched for hours, calling the dog's name again and again. He whistled, clapped, begged for the sound of barking to return. But nothing came. The forest seemed strange that night, too quiet, too watchful. The air itself felt heavy, as if the trees were hiding a secret. At one point, Daniel thought he saw movement, a shadow slipping behind the trunks. He froze. "Who's there?" He whispered, no reply. The silence pressed closer, making his skin crawl. Still, he did not give up. He walked until his legs shook, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Once he thought he heard laughter, soft, high-pitched laughter that no animal should make. But when he turned, there was nothing there. Only the empty woods staring back. The hours passed, and exhaustion began to win. Daniel's voice was hoarse from shouting. His hope began to fade. He finally returned home, his steps heavy, his heart broken. The house felt colder without Max waiting at the door. For the first time in years, Daniel sat alone. That night, he could not sleep. Every creak of the wooden walls, every sigh of the wind reminded him of his missing dog. He stared out the window, eyes burning, hoping Max would suddenly appear, tail wagging, tongue out, ready to play again. But the yard stayed empty. As the hours crawled by, Daniel thought about the strange light. Was it just his imagination? A trick of tired eyes? Or was it something else? Something the forest did not want him to see. The laughter, the shadows, the silence. It all felt wrong. Finally, as dawn painted the horizon, Daniel whispered to himself, "I'll find you. Max, I don't care what it takes." His words were a promise. But deep inside, a chill spread through him. Something had taken his dog, and it was not human. The first part of his story ended there, with a man, a vanished dog, and a forest hiding secrets. But he did not yet know the truth. Losing his dog was only the beginning. The real mystery, the real danger was still waiting in the shadows of the next day. Daniel barely slept that night. His body was tired, but his mind would not rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the strange blue light flashing between the trees. He heard again the sound of Max's paws running into the darkness, the silence that followed, and that faint, unnatural laughter that did not belong in his world. He tossed and turned, calling out his dog's name in his dreams. But each time he woke, the house was cold and empty. When morning finally arrived, Daniel stepped outside with heavy eyes and a hollow heart. The forest stood quiet under the pale light of dawn, as if it was pretending nothing strange had happened the night before. Birds sang in the distance. The wind shook the leaves. To anyone else, it would look like a normal morning. But Daniel felt the weight of something hidden, something wrong. He walked to the edge of the forest, calling once more. "Max, come on, boy." His voice cracked more from desperation than sleep. Again, only silence. His chest ached. He was starting to believe he had truly lost his only companion. But then, he heard it. At first it was soft, almost carried away by the wind. A sound unlike any he had heard before. Not birds, not the creak of trees. It was laughter, high-pitched, sweet but strange, as if it did not belong to this earth. Daniel froze, his skin prickling. The laughter rose and fell, playful and careless like children at play. Children. But there were no children in this forest. His cabin was isolated, far from neighbors. No school, no families nearby. So who or what was laughing? The sound came again, clearer now. He followed it, moving carefully between the trees. Every step felt heavier. Every sound of leaves crunching under his boots made his nerves tighten. The laughter was mixed with something else now, barking. Familiar barking. His heart leapt. Max! He ran forward, pushing branches aside, his pulse racing. Then through the trees he saw a small clearing bathed in morning light. His breath caught in his throat. Max was there. Alive. The dog was running in circles, tail wagging wildly, his tongue hanging happily from his mouth. Relief flooded Daniel, his knees almost giving way. But the relief turned quickly into shock because Max was not alone. Two small figures danced in the clearing. They were not human. They looked like little girls, thin, delicate, with long hair that shimmered like liquid silver. Their eyes glowed faintly, large and luminous, reflecting the sunlight in a way that no human eyes could. Their skin gave off a faint pale blue glow, as if light lived inside them. They laughed as they played with Max, tossing sticks in the air, letting him chase after them. Max barked joyfully as if these strange creatures were his closest friends. Daniel's body froze. His mind screamed at him to turn back, to run, to pretend he had seen nothing. But his feet stayed rooted to the ground. His dog was there, alive, wagging his tail, and the sight before him felt unreal, like a dream. One of the girls noticed him. She tilted her head, her glowing eyes locking onto his. For a long, heavy moment, no one moved. Daniel's breath caught. The air felt too thick to breathe. Max barked once, running to his side, tail wagging as if proud to show his master his new friends. The other girl floated a step closer. Her lips moved, and then a sound came, broken, shaky English. "He likes us. Don't take him." Daniel's heart pounded harder. His mouth went dry. These were not children. These were not from Earth. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mind swirled with fear and wonder. Max pressed against his leg, tail wagging as if asking Daniel to trust them. Finally, Daniel found his voice. Who are you?" The girls looked at each other, their silver hair shining in the morning light. One of them giggled again, while the other whispered something in a language Daniel could not understand. Then carefully the first girl answered, "We are lost." Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that chilled him. Lost from where? From what? Before Daniel could ask more, the air around them shifted. A low hum drifted through the trees, almost mechanical. The girls stiffened, their smiles fading. Their glowing eyes darted upward as if searching the sky. Daniel followed their gaze. The morning sky looked calm, blue, and endless. But deep inside he felt something watching, something searching. The second girl spoke in a hurried whisper, her broken English sharp with fear. "Others will come. Bad ones. They will not forgive." The words sent a shiver through Daniel's spine. He looked at Max, then at the alien children. The forest no longer felt like home. It felt like a stage, and unseen eyes were watching from the dark. Daniel's heart raced as he stood there, caught between fear and disbelief. He wanted to take Max and run home, to lock the door and pretend none of this was real. But a strange feeling rooted him to the spot. These children, whatever they were, looked at him not with anger, but with innocence, with hope. The morning breeze carried their faint glow, their strange beauty, and their warning straight into his soul. And Daniel understood one thing clearly. His life was no longer ordinary. By finding his dog, he had stepped into a secret not meant for humans. The laughter was gone now. Only silence, heavy and watchful, surrounded the clearing. And though Daniel wanted to believe the nightmare was over, deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. Daniel stood frozen in the clearing, his breath uneven. The two alien girls watched him with their glowing eyes, and Max wagged his tail between them, happy and unaware of the fear pressing down on his master's chest. The smaller girl stepped closer. Her skin glowed faintly as if starlight lived inside her veins. She looked fragile, yet her gaze carried something ancient, something heavy. She spoke slowly, her words broken, but each one clear enough to pierce Daniel's heart. "We are lost. Ship broke, sky is broken." Daniel frowned, trying to understand. "Ship? You mean, you came from up there?" He pointed at the wide sky above the trees. The taller girl nodded. Yes, from far. She touched her chest, then pointed upward again. We fall. We hide, but they will come. Her voice trembled on the last words. She glanced around nervously as if expecting someone or something to appear at any moment. Daniel swallowed hard. Who will come? The two girls exchanged a look. Their silver hair shimmered as the morning light touched it. The smaller one whispered, her voice like a frightened child's. Hunters. Law. They search. Always. A cold feeling spread through Daniel's body. Hunters? Law? His thoughts scrambled. Were there others like them already walking on Earth? Did the strange blue lights belong to these hunters? He remembered the silence of the forest last night, the shadow moving behind the trees, the faint laughter. His skin prickled with dread. Max barked once, wagging his tail at the girls as if telling Daniel that they could be trusted. But trust was not the problem. The problem was what chased them. The taller girl stepped closer, her glow dimming as if sadness passed over her. If they find us, we vanish. If they find you, you vanish too. Daniel's throat tightened. Me? Why me? The girl's glowing eyes fixed on him. Law says, humans cannot help, never. If you help, you break law. If they see, they erase. The words felt unreal, but Daniel's instincts told him they were true. His dog had not just wandered into the woods, he had stumbled into a hidden war. For a long moment, silence ruled the clearing. The forest was calm, but Daniel felt no peace. He felt watched. The branches swayed too slowly. The birds had grown quiet again. The very air seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Daniel whispered, Why come to me? Why Max? The smaller girl smiled faintly and touched Max's head. He came to us. He was not afraid. He chose. Daniel looked down at his dog, who licked his hand as if agreeing. He had never felt so torn. His heart wanted to grab Max and run back home, to lock the doors and hide from whatever storm was coming. But something in the children's eyes stopped him. They were innocent. They were lost, and they were in danger. Before Daniel could decide what to do, a strange hum passed through the forest. Low at first, like distant thunder, then louder, sharper, mechanical. Daniel's chest tightened. The alien girls stiffened instantly. Their glow flickered with fear. They come, the taller one whispered, grabbing her sister's hand. Daniel turned, scanning the trees. At first he saw nothing. Then between the trunks a shape moved. Black, metallic. A machine floating above the ground with red lights sweeping across the earth like searching eyes. A drone, but not like anything Daniel had ever seen. Its surface shimmered as if made of liquid metal, its movements too smooth, too fast. The children pulled back, trembling. Hunters, one of them whispered again. Daniel's pulse raced. The drone moved closer, its red beams cutting across the clearing. Max growled low, the fur on his back standing straight. Go, Daniel whispered urgently to the girls. Hide. But the taller girl shook her head. No safe, they smell us. They never stop? The machine's hum grew louder, vibrating through the trees. More red beams flashed in the distance, more drones closing in. Daniel's mind raced. He had no weapons, no plan. Only fear and instinct. He crouched low, pulling Max close, and hissed at the girls. Follow me. Quiet. They slipped back through the trees, their small glowing figures flickering between the shadows. Daniel's boots pressed carefully on the ground, avoiding branches. His every step felt like walking on glass. Behind them, the drone swept the clearing with its lights. Then it stopped. A strange metallic voice echoed through the woods. Unauthorized presence, reveal. Daniel's heart pounded so loudly he feared it would give them away. He pushed forward, leading them deeper into the forest, away from the machine's sight. But even as they moved, he knew this was not over. These hunters were searching for the girls. They would not stop. And now, by helping them, Daniel had already broken the so-called law. When they finally stopped to catch their breath, the smaller girl clutched his arm. Her silver eyes shone with both fear and gratitude. Please, she whispered. Do not tell, promise. Daniel looked at her trembling face, then at Max, who leaned against him with trusting eyes. He felt the weight of a choice he had never imagined making. If he helped them, he could lose everything, his home, his life. But if he turned away, he would lose something greater, his humanity. He nodded slowly. I promise. The girls exhaled with relief, but Daniel knew what his promise meant. The hunters would come again, and when they did, he would be in their path. That morning in the forest, Daniel did not just recover his lost dog. He stepped into a fight between humans and the galaxy itself, and somewhere deep inside he understood. The warning was not only for him, it was for all of Earth. The day passed in restless silence. Daniel tried to keep busy, but his hands shook every time he thought of the drones in the forest. His mind replayed the red beams sweeping across the clearing, the metallic voice demanding them to reveal. He had never felt so powerless, yet so determined. The promise he made to the alien girls weighed heavy on him. By nightfall, the sky changed. The stars above were clear, sharp, and endless, but something else lingered in the darkness. Daniel noticed faint movements among the constellations, shapes too large to be planes, too silent to be meteors. They hung above like shadows pretending to be stars. Inside his cabin, the girls crouched low near the window. Their silver hair shimmered faintly in the dim light, but their glowing eyes stayed fixed on the heavens. The smaller one whispered in her broken English, "They watch." From sky, Daniel felt the air tighten. Drones? The taller girl shook her head. Not drones. The ones who command. Lawbringers. Max growled low, pressing against Daniel's leg. His body was tense, his ears sharp to every sound outside. Daniel rubbed his head, but even the comfort of his dog could not steady his nerves. Something was coming. The forest outside stirred with strange noises. A faint hum traveled across the night air, the same sound he had heard before, but stronger, sharper. The trees swayed unnaturally as if a storm was forming without wind. Then a beam of light swept down from the sky, carving through the canopy. It passed across the ground just outside his cabin, scanning the earth like a giant eye. The girls pressed closer to Daniel, trembling. "Hide us," the smaller one begged. Daniel's heart pounded. He grabbed an old blanket and covered them, then motioned for silence. He turned off the lamps, plunging the cabin into darkness. His breath slowed, each inhale heavy in his chest. Through the window he saw them, black figures floating above the treetops. Not like drones. These were larger, their surfaces glimmering like oil under the moonlight. They moved with terrible grace, their red lights cutting across the earth, searching, hunting. One of the ships hovered directly above his house. A deep vibration shook the walls, rattling the glass. Max barked once, a sharp sound that cut the silence. Daniel grabbed his collar and pulled him close, whispering, "Quiet, boy, please." A metallic voice boomed from the sky, louder and clearer than before. "Unauthorized contact detected. Reveal assistance. Human interference forbidden." Daniel's blood turned cold. They knew, somehow they already knew. He clenched his fists. His cabin, his safe place, was no longer his. The galaxy had reached down and marked it. The taller girl whispered urgently, "If they see us here, you die." "We die." Her words stabbed him, but his answer came quick. "Then we'll keep them out." The girl's glowing eyes widened as if shocked by his courage. Humans, perhaps, were not meant to defy the law, but Daniel was no soldier, no hero, just a man protecting his home and his dog. And now, 2 lost children. The ship above the cabin released smaller drones. They fanned out, their red beams sweeping over the ground. One beam passed across the front porch, pausing on the door as if sensing life inside. Daniel's breath caught. His heart hammered so loudly he was certain the machines could hear it. Max pressed against him, growling low, ready to fight even against metal giants. Suddenly the door rattled. Hard. The wood groaned under invisible pressure. Something was trying to force its way in. The smaller girl whimpered. Daniel pulled her close, whispering, "Stay behind me." His hands shook, but his eyes burned with a fire he did not know he had. The door rattled again, harder. A crack spread across the frame. The metallic voice outside repeated, "Reveal. Human assistance is forbidden." Daniel's thoughts raced. If he opened the door, the girls were doomed. If he refused, the hunters might destroy everything. For the first time, he realized the truth. His choice was no longer just about saving his dog. It was about saving a secret, a life the galaxy wanted erased. The taller girl touched his arm, her voice trembling but steady. "Why help us? You will die too." Daniel stared at her glowing eyes. "Because you saved my dog. And because no one, no law tells me who I can protect." The cabin shook as the pressure on the door grew stronger. Splinters cracked, dust fell from the beams. The hunters were seconds from breaking in. Daniel's breath slowed. His fear burned into resolve. He glanced at the old hunting rifle on the wall. He knew it would not stop machines from the stars, but it was better than nothing. He grabbed it, loading it with trembling hands. Max barked again, fierce this time, his growl filling the dark cabin. The alien girls huddled behind him, their faint glow shimmering through the blanket. And then, the door cracked open. A red beam shot into the room, slicing across the floor. The hunters had found them. Daniel raised the rifle, his finger on the trigger, his eyes locked on the light. His voice was steady, though his body shook. "You're not taking them." The part ended there, in the moment before the storm, a human standing against the galaxy. The cabin shuddered as the door cracked wider. Red light swept across the wooden floor like a blade, cutting through the darkness. Daniel gripped the rifle tighter, his body shaking but his eyes steady. Behind him, the two alien girls huddled under the blanket, their glowing eyes wide with fear. Max growled so deep it seemed to come from his bones, his body pressed against Daniel's leg, ready to leap. The metallic voice outside boomed again. "Human. Release the fugitives. Interference is forbidden." Daniel's throat tightened. Every instinct screamed at him to give up, to surrender, but another voice inside, louder, stronger, told him to stand firm. These were children. Lost, frightened children. No law, human or alien, could convince him to hand them over. The door creaked, splinters flying as the unseen force pressed harder. Daniel lifted the rifle, aiming at the crack. His voice was low but firm. "Not in my house." A flash of red burst through the doorframe. The beam sliced the wall, scorching wood into smoke. The heat burned against Daniel's face, forcing him to stumble back. Max barked fiercely, lunging at the light as if he could bite it out of existence. The taller girl cried out, grabbing Daniel's sleeve. "We must go, now!" Daniel's heart hammered. He nodded quickly. There was no way to defend the cabin. If they stayed, they would all be erased. He swung open the back door, motioning for the girls to follow. "This way. Stay low." They dashed into the night, the forest swallowing them whole. The air outside was alive with sound. Drones humming, beams cutting through trees, the heavy presence of ships hovering above. Daniel's boots thudded against the earth, but every step felt too loud, too obvious. His breath came hard and fast. The girls glowed faintly in the dark, their light flickering with fear. Daniel cursed under his breath. "Too bright, they'll see you." The smaller girl's eyes glistened. She clasped her sister's hand and their glow dimmed slightly, as if they were pulling their light deep inside themselves. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Max ran ahead, darting between roots and shadows, his instincts guiding the way. Daniel trusted him. Dogs knew paths humans could not see. Dogs smelled danger before it arrived. Tonight, Max was their only compass. Through the trees, Daniel spotted a faint shimmer of blue. Familiar, otherworldly. His chest tightened. It was the same light he had seen the night Max vanished. Now it pulsed from deeper in the woods, beckoning them forward. The taller girl whispered, breathless, "The ship broken, but here." They pushed through thick branches until the forest opened into a hidden hollow. At the center lay wreckage, sharp, curved metal glowing faintly with alien energy. Strange symbols pulsed across the broken hull, whispering with life though the ship was clearly wounded. Sparks leapt from shattered panels. A low hum vibrated through the earth as if the ground itself remembered the fall. Daniel froze, awe and fear battling in his chest. This is real." The girls ran forward, touching the wreckage with trembling hands. Their glow answered the ship's faint light, like children returning to their mother. The taller one turned to Daniel. "Safe here, for a moment." But the moment was short. From the forest behind them came the sharp whine of drones. Red lights swept across the trees, cutting closer, hungrier. The hunters had followed. Daniel spun, gripping the rifle, though he knew it was useless against machines from the stars. His voice shook. "They're here." The taller girl pressed her hand to the cracked metal of the ship. "We must fix, but it needs courage." "Human courage." Daniel stared, confused. "Courage? What does that even mean?" The smaller one pointed at him, her silver eyes bright with urgency. "Not machine. Not weapon, your heart. Only human heart can wake it." Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to laugh, to deny it, but the ship's hum grew louder as he stood near, as if it was responding to his very presence. The girls pulled him closer, guiding his hand to the cracked hull. The moment his skin touched the alien metal, A shock raced through him, not painful but deep, like the earth itself was whispering into his bones. Images flashed across his mind: stars, endless space, battles in the dark, and the lawbringers chasing down fugitives like prey. His chest burned, but his fear steadied. Behind him, the drones broke through the trees. Their red lights flared, voices cold and merciless. Human identified. Interference confirmed. Erase. Daniel turned, sweat dripping, rifle shaking in his grip. He stepped in front of the girls, his dog at his side, the broken ship behind him. His heart thundered. His courage burned. The ship's hum deepened, as if awakening. Blue light crawled across the cracked metal, brighter, stronger. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. The hunters advanced, red beams aimed. Daniel shouted, voice raw, "You're not taking them!" The drones fired. Trees exploded, earth scorched. Max barked furiously, refusing to retreat. Daniel pulled the girls back toward the ship, the blue light growing like fire. The taller girl cried out, "It begins!" And then the ship roared to life, shaking the ground, flooding the hollow with blinding light. The escape had begun, but survival was not certain. The hollow shook with thunder as the broken ship roared awake. Blue light spilled across the wreckage, wrapping Daniel, the girls, and Max in a glow that pulsed like a living heartbeat. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Trees bent as if bowing to some unseen power, but the hunters did not retreat. The black drones swarmed into the hollow, their red beams slicing through the night like knives. The metallic voices thundered together. Human interference confirmed. Execution required. Daniel's body trembled, but his feet did not move. His hands gripped the rifle, though he knew the bullets inside were meaningless against these machines. Still he stood tall, his chest burning with a strange new strength that had come when he touched the ship. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the girls. Max barked sharply, baring his teeth at the advancing drones. His small body stood like a wall of courage against the galaxy's machines. The first drone lunged, its red beam locking onto Daniel's chest. In that instant, he dove to the side, pulling the girls with him. The ground exploded where he had stood, dirt and stones scattering like shrapnel. The sound roared through his skull, but his grip on the rifle never loosened. He raised the weapon and fired. The bullet struck the drone's shell, sparking harmlessly, but the force made it hesitate for a second. That second was all Daniel needed. He grabbed a heavy branch from the ground and swung with all his strength. The branch cracked against the drone's lens, shattering part of its glowing eye. Sparks burst. The machine staggered back, humming angrily. Daniel gasped for breath, his arms aching, but he felt something different. He was not powerless. The taller girl shouted, "They fear your spirit." "Not your weapon, your will." Her words echoed in his chest. Human will, courage. That was what the ship had shown him. The drones regrouped, circling like wolves. Their voices merged again. The human resists, and resistance. Red beams crisscrossed the hollow, chasing Daniel as he darted between the wreckage. Max ran at his side, barking wildly, dodging blasts of fire. The alien girls pressed their hands to the ship, whispering in their strange language. The hull responded, glowing brighter, but it was still too weak to lift from the earth. Daniel shouted over the chaos, "What do I do? How do we finish this?" The smaller girl cried out, "Keep them back." "Give ship time." Time, that was all they needed. Daniel's heart pounded like a war drum. He turned to face the hunters, his fear burning into fury. The drones surged forward. Daniel swung the rifle like a club, smashing into one, then grabbed a sharp piece of wreckage from the ground and hurled it at another. Sparks flew. His arms burned, his lungs screamed, but his body refused to give in. Every second he fought, the ship grew brighter. The hunters spoke again, colder than ice. The human defies the law. He must be erased. From the sky above, a larger shadow descended, a towering enforcer, twice the size of the drones. Its armor glimmered like black glass, its face a mask of red light. It raised an arm and energy crackled in its palm. Daniel's blood froze. This was no drone. This was a lawbringer. The machine's voice thundered through the hollow. "Human, you stand where you do not belong. You will die for this." The energy in its hand flared like a sun. Max barked and leapt forward, distracting the giant for a second. The beam struck the ground inches from Daniel, blasting a crater of fire. Heat seared his skin, the shock wave knocking him to his knees. The lawbringer reached out, its massive hand clamping around Daniel's throat, lifting him off the ground like a toy. His legs kicked helplessly, his lungs burned, his vision blurred. The metallic voice growled, "You are nothing. Flesh against the galaxy." The girls screamed. Max lunged, biting at the monster's leg, sparks flying as his teeth hit metal. Daniel's chest burned. His vision faded. But deep inside, something roared louder than the pain, his will. His promise. With the last of his strength, Daniel raised his hand and pressed it against the Lawbringer's mask. Blue sparks burst between his palm and the machine's face. The ship behind them roared louder, answering his courage. The Lawbringer's grip faltered. For the first time, its voice trembled. "Impossible. Human will. Interfering with systems." Daniel shouted through clenched teeth. "I'm not afraid of you." The ship erupted in a blinding wave of blue light. The hollow shook as the energy burst outward, slamming into the hunters. Drones shattered like glass. The Lawbringer staggered back, its armor cracking under the force. The alien girls pulled Daniel to the ground, shielding him as the ship's power exploded across the forest. When the light finally dimmed, silence fell. Smoke curled through the hollow. Broken machines lay scattered, their red lights extinguished. The Lawbringer knelt, its armor split, its voice distorted. "This is not the end." Then it vanished into the darkness, retreating with the few drones that remained. Daniel coughed, his throat raw, his body trembling. He looked at the girls, who stared at him with wide, glowing eyes. "You fought them," the taller one whispered. "A human." "Against the galaxy." Max barked once, standing tall beside him, as if declaring victory. Daniel's chest heaved, his body aching, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. He was just a man. But tonight he had stood against machines built to erase civilizations, and he had not broken. Smoke curled through the hollow, the scent of burning wood and shattered metal thick in the air. Daniel stood hunched, his chest heaving, his throat raw from the Lawbringer's grip. His hands shook, not just from exhaustion, but from the weight of what had happened. Max pressed close against his leg, growling low, his fur still bristling. The two alien girls crouched near the broken ship, their silver eyes wide and shining with both fear and wonder. The taller one whispered, almost in awe, "You stood against them." "No human ever dares." Daniel swallowed hard. His voice was hoarse but steady. "They came to take children. I couldn't let them." The smaller girl's glow brightened, flickering like a candle, finding strength again. She pressed her small hands against the ship's broken hull, her voice trembling. "Because of you, ship listens now. It knows courage." As if hearing her, the wreck groaned with new life. Blue veins of light crawled across its surface, stronger than before. The ground trembled as the broken engines hummed, no longer silent but hungry to rise again. But the forest was not quiet. Far above, shadows moved among the stars. The hunters had retreated, but they were not gone. The galaxy itself had felt Daniel's defiance, and it would not forgive easily. The taller girl touched his arm. "If we fly, they will chase. But if we stay, they will burn this place. No safety here." Daniel looked around. The forest he had lived beside for years, the cabin not far beyond the trees, the soil where Max had played and barked. This was his world, and it was no longer untouched. By helping the children, he had torn the curtain that kept humanity hidden from the stars. He met the girl's glowing eyes. "Then you have to leave. Now, before more come." The smaller one frowned, clutching Max's fur. "But he helped us. He is part of this now." Max wagged his tail, licking her glowing hand as if to agree. Daniel knelt, his voice breaking. "I can't go with you. This is my home. But you belong out there. Don't let them take your freedom. Don't let them win." The taller girl shook her head. "If we leave, they will return for you. The law never forgets." For a long moment, Daniel was silent. He looked up at the stars, endless and cold. He thought of the Lawbringer's grip on his throat, the voice calling him nothing. He thought of the ship awakening to his courage. Finally, he said softly, "Then let them come. I'll still be here, and I won't bow." The girls stared at him, their eyes shimmering with something like respect. The smaller one whispered, "The galaxy is cruel. But tonight, it saw a human fight. Maybe it will remember." The ship groaned again, brighter now, its cracked metal slowly knitting together as if healed by unseen hands. Energy flowed around it, humming through the ground, rushing into the air. Suddenly, the night split with light. The Lawbringers returned, taller ships descending from the sky, beams of red light stabbing the forest. Their voices thundered louder than storms. Fugitives detected, human interference confirmed, end all. Daniel rose, rifle still in his hand, though it was battered and empty. He stood in front of the girls, Max by his side, his body casting a small shadow against the towering lights. His chest burned with fear, but his voice was steady. "You'll have to kill me first." For a second, the forest held its breath. The lawbringers, the machines of the galaxy, hesitated. A human, weak, mortal, fragile, stood defiant against them. The girls joined him, their glow growing brighter, feeding the ship with their strength. Together with Daniel's courage, the light surged outward, flooding the hollow. The hunters' beams wavered, their machines shaking as if unable to process what they faced. The lawbringers' voices faltered. Human spirit, incompatible. Resistance spreading. And then in a flash of blue, the ship rose. It lifted from the earth, cracked wings unfolding, engines roaring with new life. The ground shook as trees bent under the force. The girls looked down from the doorway of the glowing craft. The taller one called out, her voice breaking. "Because of you, we live. Because of you, we believe. The galaxy will know. Humans fight for what they love." Daniel shielded his eyes as the ship's light grew too bright to see. Max barked loudly, his howl echoing through the forest as the vessel soared upward, tearing into the sky. The hunters tried to follow, but the ship released a wave of energy that sent them scattering. One by one, their lights faded into the night until only the stars remained. Silence returned to the hollow. The forest was broken, scarred, but alive. Daniel lowered his rifle, his hands trembling, his heart heavy yet burning with pride. Max pressed against his leg, tail wagging faintly, his eyes glowing with the faint blue spark he had carried since the night he first met the alien children. Daniel stared at the sky, watching the last trace of blue vanish into the stars. He whispered to himself, "Come back safe, little ones." The forest gave no answer, but the silence was no longer empty. Somewhere far above, the galaxy had seen him. A single man, a dog, and a choice of kindness had shaken its law. And though Daniel knew the hunters might return one day, he also knew this truth. Humanity was not as small as the galaxy believed. That night, Earth remained quiet, but the stars would never look at humans the same way again.